I love Dunkin'. Hey y'all, what is up? It is Lena Grace back with another video for you guys today. So today I wanted to kind of do a basic video, but I feel like it's much needed, especially for my upcoming camp counselors. This is definitely something that you may want to see. So today I'm going to be doing a Q&A with a camp counselor who has been a camp counselor for the past 4 years. And I have been across many different camps in tons of different situations, whether it's church camp or just a rec camp, student council camp, leadership camp, whatever it may be. I think I have a lot of experience, so I can try to answer these questions as best to my ability as I can. I do have a list of questions on my phone here, and I'm just going to answer them to the best of my ability. It's just some questions that I have gotten over the years from friends and family of being a camp counselor, and just wondering what's typical about it, what are the fun benefits of it, just a whole bunch of different variety of it all. So yeah, let's rock. The first question I get asked the most actually is whether or not I get a break or not. And the answer is yes, but maybe not to what you think it is. So out of all the camps I have been to, we always get an hour of the day, depending on where I go. One of my camps calls it FOB, which means flat on bunk. Basically means that you were laying down flat on your bunk. Some are called siesta, so rest time, or cabin cool down. It just really depends on what camp I go to, but let's just say it's called cabin cool down in this situation. Cabin cool down is basically where after lunch, everyone goes back to the cabin and literally lays down and rests for an hour. Now the campers, depending on the age, may not always take a nap because they usually want to stay awake and they want to color or read or something. But I always take that time to nap and lay down. Sometimes if I am taking summer classes, which I am this summer, I will take that time to do some homework for those classes, or if I'm working on some assignments for this upcoming year. So like the year before my senior year, I had a senior thesis I had to write. I put some ideas together for that. So I just kind of take that time to either take a nap or work on schoolwork, basically. That is usually the mainstream kind of break for most camps. But one of my camps that I go to, the main one I'm going to this summer, I do get an hour break besides that one cabin cool down time. I do get an hour a day when I'm not teaching an activity. That's usually my main nap time, or also for schoolwork. Sometimes I will go for a run, or like I'll find some at-home workouts on my iPad and watch them. So like I do a lot of like cardio dance classes on my iPad or whatever. So simple answer is yes, most likely you will have a break. It's just not maybe your designed break, if that makes sense. Another break, I guess, kind of that you may get is you often get weekends off. So like if you are at a camp where it trades out the different campers each week, you will get those weekends off just to kind of like deep clean your cabin, kind of get yourself together, kind of get your mind ready spiritually. So you kind of get that break. It's not necessarily a break because it's a lot of prepping, but again, you kind of get time off to maybe bond with your counselors. We do a lot of card games. We'll go out to dinner, we'll go to Walmart and just kind of walk around, just kind of get into the normal people realm rather than being in that camp counselor brain. So yeah, that's another form of break you may get. Okay, the next question that I get a lot of is how do you handle homesick campers? And that is a big question. That's always the question that comes up whenever I'm doing interviews or when I'm filling out applications or in training. Is literally the number one question is, how do you handle a camper that is homesick? The one thing I can say about that is distraction, distraction, distraction. If they come up to you and say, hey, I'm really missing my parents, or hey, I'm really missing home right now, literally just distractions. And I'm not saying like completely disregard their feelings, obviously validate their feelings and say, hey, I understand that maybe you are feeling a little homesick right now, but that's okay. And maybe instead of like a lot of counselors I have seen over the years have been like, oh, well, what do you miss about home? That's only making it worse. I definitely recommend to be like, hey, so instead of focusing on your parents at home, maybe we could focus on what activity you have next. And then if they say they're homesick, just say like, hey, what are you looking forward to next? So like, for example, if they come up to you during lunch, and lunch is kind of usually whenever they come to you, lunch, and then at night, like right around bedtime is whenever they come to you and say that they're homesick, just be like, well, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Like, we have tons of things. Like, are you going to be in archery tomorrow? Are you going to be swimming tomorrow? Tomorrow's skit night? Whatever it may be. Like, distraction is definitely the number one thing that I can say. Another big thing that I like to say is definitely validate their feelings. Don't just like completely disregard it, because I can definitely see how some counselors can do that. I've seen it over the years, and it just only makes them feel worse, and sometimes can even make them want to call their parents and even be sent home. And definitely the thing you don't want to do is say, oh, well, let's just call your parents, because that's only going to make it worse, and they're only going to be able to look forward to that. And also, encouragement is a big thing. Just saying, well, I believe in you that you can get through. Today's Wednesday, you have until Saturday to get through. And then if they kind of like count down the days, they can kind of count their blessings in the sense of like, oh my gosh, well, we have skit night tonight, and then we have outing tomorrow, and then we have our campfire on Friday. That kind of mindset of like being able to look at what we have coming up ahead is a big thing that I think could definitely work. So the next question that I definitely get a lot, especially working in church camp, is how do you answer a question that you may not know the answer to? And this question comes up a lot in church camp, like I said, especially with messages that kids may not understand completely. If they read something in the Bible they may not understand. So my first defense is it's okay to say you don't know. Coming up with an answer that's filled with a bunch of fluff is not appropriate. It's better to say you don't know, because kids like to see that obviously they may view you as your hero or your number one supporter, but also kids like to see that you're human as well and that you're not this superhero person. I know when I was a camper, like seeing that my counselors, like, it was obviously upsetting whenever my counselors would show that they were tired or they were frustrated or whatnot, but like it's good to show that they are human, and like I just really value that as a camper. And I think them being able to see that you don't know all the answers, and that's okay. Obviously they would like you to, but it's okay. Like, they want to be able to see that as well. Kind of a second part to that question is being able to be like, hey, I don't know the answer right now, let me get back to you in a couple of hours. And usually my first resort is to look at my Bible and see if there's an answer for that. Especially when it comes to church camps, that's the number one thing, is to look at my Bible and see if there's a question, see if I can answer that question for them. And my second resort is always to ask my boss or whoever is speaking in chapel that week, because they most likely know the answer, because they are much more biblically inclined than I am. So just being able to like ask them and say, hey, I had a camper ask this, what do you know about this, or what's the best way I can answer this question? It's better to ask those who you look up to, like how your campers look up to you, if that makes sense. Because if they see that you may need help, again, it's very good to show that you're human as well. The next question that I get a lot, and especially this has happened before, where it's been a full week of just bad weather days. You can't go to the pool, you can't go to the lake, you can't go run around outside, no creek, nothing, is what do you do on bad weather days? Because in my years of being a camp counselor, this has happened all the time. I remember at one of my camps in 2022, we were up in the mountains, and it literally was thunderstorms during all of my pool times during the week except one day, and we had to make do. It's just what we had to do. This is some fun ideas of what to do on bad weather days. So the first thing is crafts. If some of your camps may offer arts and crafts as a separate activity, like I know one of my camps we do a lot of like painting on like ceramics or like pottery. Leather crafts is a big one that we do like as a separate activity. But sometimes kids just want to color. So I recommend getting a bunch of like plain copy paper and a big pack of markers and bringing that. And they just love doing that, even just like making signs for their beds. I know that's definitely what we do at the beginning of the week for camp. But like just being able to make signs for the bed. Sometimes they like to write Bible verses on the papers and being able to take them home, or even leave them in the cabin for the summer. I love that. Another big thing is rainbow loom. They love rainbow loom. I know that we loved it as a kid, but they love it too. I literally just buy a big pack of rubber bands off of Amazon, like of 10,000, and they literally just make them on their fingers, and they love doing that. They make bracelets for themselves, for me, for friends, like whatever it may be. They just love doing that. Another thing I like to do is fun card games. A big card game that they like today is the Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. That one saved lives, because They love how fun it's going to be. They can interact with those around them. Another one they like is obviously like Go Fish. That's a simple one. Uno is another big one they like to do. Literally, if you just get like a basic deck of cards, they will eat that up. They love it so, so much. Another thing that is super easy, especially if you maybe want to interact with other counselors, you want to maybe chat with them, and maybe if your campers have friends in other cabins, is to play a big game of statues. If you don't know what statues is, basically two campers or yourselves as the counselors will go around and have a flashlight. I usually use my phone flashlight and try and find people that are moving. You stand like a statue and you have to try and figure out who's moving and you get them out. Whatever, super easy. That's a super fun, easy game to play. Another super easy game to play, you can do it with a deck of cards or you can just do it by hand picking, is Mafia. If you don't know what Mafia is, you can look it up. It's super fun and easy. You can create storylines for the campers, and it's just, all of my kids love it. Sometimes they would rather play hours in Mafia than go to their activities. So that's definitely one thing I definitely recommend. One of the other big questions I get a lot that's definitely hard to answer as myself is, how do you handle misbehaving campers? And unfortunately, this is one of the things that you do face as a camp counselor. So the best thing I can say is to handle it like y'all are adults. Obviously, you as a counselor, you are an adult, but it's better to treat the camper as an adult than just scolding them. I personally do not scold campers immediately, even if it may be hard to act on rage, especially when you're exhausted. Something important to remember is that your week 4 may be a camper's week 1, their first time ever away from home, and you don't want to create a bad experience for them if you're just scolding them. So I definitely recommend to say, handle it as soon as you can. If you're in the middle of an activity, that may not be the best time to do it, but like after the activity, that may be the best. But don't go up to them and say, we'll talk after dinner, when it's like lunch. Don't say you'll talk after dinner, because that's going to worry the camper for the rest of the day and it's going to scare them. I definitely recommend handling it immediately and just sitting down with them and ask them why they were doing it, rather than saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Ask them, say, hey, what made you want to do this? Are you upset? Are you sad? What's going on? I just think treating them like they're an adult and hearing them out is so much better than scolding them immediately and just having this mindset of like, oh, this camper is bad, they don't deserve to have a good time. Definitely we want everyone to have a good time and everyone to be happy, because it is summer camp. Summer camp is one of the best parts of your childhood, and I just definitely recommend you have this kind of mindset of like, okay, let's hear this camper out. And if your camp does this, my camp does this, if a camper's misbehaving, we do have this thing called benching. Basically, if they're just misbehaving, you bench them for a certain amount of time during activities based on whatever they did. I personally bench them for however old they are, that's how many minutes. So if a camper is 10 years old, I'll bench them for 10 minutes. If a camper is 12 years old, I'll bench them for 12. So it just kind of gives them an idea of like the time to think about what they did. I know that sounds basic, but it truly is one of the best things I can recommend. So the last question I get a lot is, how can you have fun with your campers while you're working? Because this is a job. Being a camp counselor is a job, but how can you have fun? Literally, just act like sometimes that you're a camper. Obviously, be mature. Don't be an immature camper. But like, join them in on field games. Like, if there's a game where you have to get messy or you have to get like wet with like a water gun or something, like, take advantage of that. That's something that's big and it's so easy. Bring some silly clothes, like dress up for holidays and theme nights, and also let the kids mess around with you. So like, campers want to do your hair sometimes, or making friendship bracelets for you, or rock painting. That's just definitely something I can recommend. So guys, that is my camp counselor frequently asked questions Q&A session. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I really hope you guys could take this to heart and use it while you're a counselor this summer. I really appreciate you guys viewing this, and yeah, tune in. I should be making another one next week, but thank you guys again. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!